Mine just went in the back room too. So here you go.
One shall stand, and one shall fall.
Yeah. New kids on the block, we here making it pop. Don't care if you like it or not. The spot we want is the top. The head nerds in charge and our full seat of making things happen. If you think you heard what you thought you heard, go ahead and play that thing back. Coming out the speakers in the car in the man cave. The mother bus is about to be knocked off the airwaves. So be very afraid. Better check your gameplay. Sitting on all that and finna take away your fan base. The stage is set. Better put respect up on our name. What you get right now, you get it later. A consistent game, a steady dosage. Once you started, you can't get enough. The people's chant ain't a topic we ain't finna touch. So bring your A game, cause the boys behind the mic finna do the same thing. One time for the one time, let it off like bang bang. We aiming to be the greatest. We accepting any challenge. With a snap of the finger, bringing balance. Let's make it happen. You tuned in to the place to be. You tuned in to HNIC. Head nerds in charge. You tuned in to the place to be. You tuned in to HNIC.
Forget about the way it used to be. This is not a damn democracy. We are in a state of emergency, and my word is law. There's only one boss in this place, and that's me. The HNIC.
What's up, guys? It is at TeffyWonder here, your wonderful melanated mocha-fied mermaid. Coming at you again with Head Nerds in Charge exclusive interview with a very, very dope actress, singer, musician. Bruh, I was just like, I done lucked out here now. We're interviewing Liz Priestley today of the Queen's Acting Company. Go ahead, tell the people what's up.
Hello, everybody. Oh, thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here.
We're super excited to have you. I feel really fortunate. We've had a lot of really dope interviews, and you seem like really cool. And actually, I did theater in high school, so I feel like we hear a little bit.
We're on the same page, TeffyWonder. I'm excited about that. That's good.
Yes, yes. And you local Philly girl.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, technically, so to anyone outside of our state, I do say Philly, but if you're familiar with Philly, then you really do have to be technical. So technically, I am a suburbanite, a Philly suburbanite, but it's close, and I'm 10 minutes away. It's like across the street. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very close to Philly. But no, I mean, I'm in, like Cheltenham, so it's not that far.
Oh,
It's like
literally
right
across the street.
Literally. So, like, for all intents and purposes, I think I can claim Philly and get away with it. I don't know.
Listen, I'm gonna let it go for now. I'm gonna let it go. Because my dad used to live up there. I used to go to the ShopRite across the street because it was bomb.
That's my ShopRite. All right. So that's close enough. You know where I'm at. You know where the landscapes are. You know where the landmarks are. So
Yeah.
all right. I'm gonna say Philly.
All right. So we got a local Philly native with us today, which is always makes it extra special. So like I said, you are a singer, actress. You got to meet Idris Elba.
Yeah, I did more than meet him. That's not
So
horrible, but yeah, I
listen,
did more than meet him.
wow.
Yeah,
Listen, before we get into that, why
I
don't we
know.
tell people? So acting, you started over on Broadway, and then you
No,
no.
I've never been on Broadway. That was like a dream of mine, but I never quite made it there. But no, actually, I was like you. I started in high school, well, middle school, basically. Yeah, yeah. Say, Teffy Wonder, this fucking happened. No, I started. In elementary school, you have to put on like class plays and stuff, and I was the only kid that took it like super seriously. And like if I didn't get the part that I wanted, I was like upset for days. And it was like my parents were like, there weren't auditions, right? And I'm like, no, there were not, like oh, um no, I mean when I was a kid, and I have older siblings too. So they used to do theater in high school, and I used to go see their shows and stuff. And I was always just really like fascinated by like, oh, that's my sister, but she's pretending to be a different person from like a different time period, and she's wearing costumes, and she gets to kiss the guy, and she gets to have the adventure. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing. Um, and then I was also really like enthralled with movies and like the whole movie making process. Like when I was a kid, I remember asking my parents like, right, so this is a movie, but who's making that? Like, how does that work? I mean, somebody's putting it together. How does that work? And
Mhm.
then it was like, oh, there's this thing called acting where you get to play pretend for a living and get paid for it. That's the job for me. Yes.
Ah.
And that's where it started. But I I mean, I got to perform in New York for about a year. I was
Mhm.
working as an actor, but I never quite got to Broadway. I did a national tour, and I did a couple of other shows in the city, and then moved back here. And I've been doing stuff here. So no, Broadway is still a dream of mine that hopefully I will get to at some point.
Oh
But I
my
will say,
gosh.
film for me was always the bigger passion anyway. So
Okay, okay. So you graduated college, and then
Mhm.
did you go straight into like
I did,
acting?
yeah. I went to college for musical theater. So
Mhm.
when my classmates and I graduated from Ithaca College, it was like a mass exodus to New York City. Like we all moved at the same time, which was really cool because then it was like, oh, I know people in the city. But they all ended up in like Astoria, Queens, and I ended up in like Bushwick, Brooklyn. But whatever. Um, yeah, we all moved there, and it was like maybe within 4 months after graduating. Like that was always the plan. Like I'm going to New York, gonna do it, and I did.
I love it. I love it. I did a semester of college at FIU in Miami. So
Hmm.
like we had a lot of people there who would like go downtown and try and just stand around as like extras. And
Yes.
I know a couple people who like model, and like that's their thing, like out on the scene. So like
Yeah.
this, like when you're telling me like you went to New York, and I'm like, that's crazy because like I've never had to hear anybody where they'd be like, yeah, we had to
Hmm.
leave to go somewhere. It was like, nah, we're gonna take a 20 minutes down 95, go down to the beach, and we just gonna stand around and hope we get noticed.
That's definitely, I mean, it's one way to do it. And, I have to say, I was talking to someone recently about this too. Like, extra work, being an
Mhm.
extra, that's a lot. Like, there are so many projects where they need extras. And it can be like a very kind of lucrative way to make a living. And I know people that just do that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And over the years, while I was trying to get to film, which is what I always wanted to do,
Mhm.
um, I had to work, various 9 to 5 jobs over the subsequent like decade, a little longer than a decade. But I can remember working at a job where my coworker, it was this guy who was not an actor. He was like a radio frequency engineer, you know, but on a weekend, he happened to he's a big Transformers fan, and he called up the local casting people when Transformers was filming partly in here in
Mhm.
at UPenn. Called him up and he was like, "I want to be an extra." And they were like, "Sure." And he just did that over the weekend. And then he comes in on Monday. He's like, "I was in a movie over the weekend." And I'm like, "Just so not cool." No, I was happy for him, but I was like, "Dang it, so easy for him."
Listen,
But it was like a
listen.
blink and you miss it type. You got to pause the screen and pick him out of a crowd type of thing. But even then, I was like, "Man, he's doing it."
Right, he get to add that to his resume. Extra in Transformers. Like,
Yeah.
I love
And
it. So when you went to New York, is that where you like started like working in theater, or were you like singing first?
well, the singing actually happened during high school. So I was a musician first, I would
Okay.
say, because I started playing um, violin when I was about 4, and kept
Did
that up
that too.
all together. Yeah. I mean, altogether, I played violin for about 19 years. But in high school was when because I was up to like several hours a day practicing, and it got to be, are you going to do this professionally or do you have other interests? And I was like, I very much have other interests. So
Oh.
yeah, so then my parents were like, well, try something else musical so we can keep that skill. So I was like, let's try singing. And then turned out I'm a better singer than anything else. So all through high school I trained in opera, um and then at college, it was like, are you going to go singing? Or are you going to do the acting thing that you've been talking about since you were a kid? And I decided to do both. And I went for musical theater. Um, but yeah, then when I graduated and I moved to New York, that was it was the first time in my life where I made that decision where I was like, I'm going to work as an actress. That's what I want to do. So as soon as I moved to New York City, that's what I did. I was a working actress, which was really cool because that doesn't happen for a lot of people. Um,
Yeah, a lot of people be like, "Yeah, I act every now and then."
and yeah, and I do this, that, and the third. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I was getting shows and I was performing. I didn't have to do an extra job. I didn't have to wait
Mhm.
tables or temp like some of my friends were doing, which was really cool. And then yeah, and then I got cast in a national tour and I toured the country singing and performing, and that was cool. And then after that I was like, I
Oh.
need a break. I need to come home. And then that break turned into like a 14-year staying in Philly. So
Well,
yeah, it
I
happens.
mean, you staying here, but you're not working. You still.
No, I've been very fortunate. I moved home. I knew it was a risk to come home because, especially, if you are working as an actor in New York, I mean, that's a tough city to be finding consistent work. So if you are, you don't want to kill your momentum. You know what I mean? But I,
Mhm.
I was burned out. I needed to come home. I needed to take a break. And I had my daughter. So I was here. And then I had my daughter, and I was like, I still want to perform. I just don't want to go back to New York to do it.
Right.
And fortunately, Philly has a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot of theater. So I was able to just keep up my skills by performing here, and I've been able to add something like 27 credits to my resume just from theater in Philadelphia. So I didn't slow down necessarily. I just changed the environment.
I love that though, because people always be trying to sleep on us. Like Philly, like
I
there's not really anything going
know.
on. And I'm like, first of all, y'all remember Motown, Gamble and Huff? I was like, Boys to Men, like Motown, Philly, back again. I was like,
We have a lot of
literally
great
discovered
artists that came out of this city. Like, come
exactly
on.
like I was like the Fresh Prince,
I
that
mean,
dude from here.
he's from here. No, Philly, it's interesting because we have a very large theater scene, which is wonderful, but not a
Hmm.
lot of movies shoot here because the tax credit thing is terrible.
Oh,
Um
facts.
Yeah, so it's interesting because even in this last year, um, I think it was like two movies and three TV shows shot here,
Mhm.
and that's like the most it's been in a long time. So Philly's kind of, it's one of those cities that's always been kind of on the up and up, but it's been on the up and up for like 20 years, and I'm like,
Right.
okay, there's stuff here. I don't know where it's all going, but I've been working consistently. There's a lot here. There's a lot here, and there's a lot of very, very talented people here.
Okay. So
Yeah.
tell me, how do you like working in Philly versus being up in New York? Because I went to New York City for the first time last year. We went and we covered like an
Oh,
event there, and I was just kind of like,
was
all
it like
right, it's
culture
like
shock?
Philly, but like maybe a little fancy or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, so New York is like a different breed altogether. It's loud, it's packed, it's smelly, it's a totally different environment than Philly. And New York had, everyone and their mom in New York is an actor, you know what I mean? So, I think it's more competitive in some
Hmm.
ways, and then in other ways it's almost like like you get the feeling of, "Oh, we're all in this together," because everyone's auditioning. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh
oh, okay,
yeah.
good luck to you. Good luck to you too. I get a lot of friendly people in New York at auditions because everybody just kind of understands, like, we're all in that boat. We're
Hmm.
all trying to do well. We all want the part. So there's no need to be like nasty to each other. So in New York, I find a lot of other actors or actresses will just be very friendly, and they'll talk to you about things you've been in, and there's not really a sense of competition. But in Philly, I think because it is a smaller, community compared to New York, the parts are fewer and harder to get. So it's a little more like,
Hmm.
I'm better than her. I know I'm better than her. You know what I mean? But that being said, some of my closest, actor people are in this city, and I would not have been able to get to where I'm at if I had
Hmm.
not met those people in the last like 13 years who are from Philly. I would not have been anywhere near where I'm at today if I had stayed in New York. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Now
blessings.
run tell that New York.
Yeah. Don't hate on Philly. There's a lot of talent here. There's a lot of opportunities here. And like I said, they're starting to do more filming stuff here. So I hope that as that grows, people start looking at Philly as like, oh, yeah, let's shoot in Philly. Because that would
Yeah.
be great for us. That would be great for
Facts.
us.
Facts. So, tell me, like, how were your parents like always super supportive of you and going to like act and sing and everything?
They were much more supportive of the music aspect. I think,
Okay.
their point of view was that, everyone wants to be an actor, but not
Mhm.
everyone can sing. You know what I mean? And you have this gift that not a lot of people have. You shouldn't throw it away. Definitely keep going that direction. And they never outright were like, no, you can't do this, or no, we don't approve of that, or no, we won't support you.
Right.
But it was always, okay, Liz, if you're gonna do that, that's fine. We think you should do this, but it's your life. That parent thing that they do where you're like, yeah. But I
Nah.
also I did appreciate that from them. I can say that now. During,
Mhm.
I was just kind of like, why won't you support? But now I'm grateful because yeah, if they had outright been like, no, we're not going to let you do that, I would have resented them for that. And I think if they had just sort of blindly let me just dive headfirst into this without being realistic about the expectations, I would have resented them for that too, as like a, why didn't you prepare me for, the
Right.
tough aspects of life? So, um, I would say they've been very supportive in their own way. I mean, there have been times where I've been doing plays like back to back where I've had rehearsals for like three or four different plays every single night of the week.
Mhm.
And when you have a kid, it's really hard to go to rehearsals every night of the week. So my parents were always like, yes, you can, yes, we'll babysit. Like, yes, we know,
No.
and so I'm grateful for them for that, because I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of it if they hadn't been there. So yeah, they were supportive in their own way. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's so awesome. Like when I hear other
Yeah.
people, because my mom specifically, like both my parents kind of believe this, but my mom used to say, "You guys are like should be like the Wayne's brothers. You guys are like you guys should all like one of y'all should write, and then all of y'all could star in it because all of y'all funny." And I'd
Yeah.
be like, "Okay, well, mom, this TV show is casting in New York," and she'd be like, "Man, I'm not taking off work for that." Like,
It's
be
so
like,
funny.
how am I supposed to be famous if you're not gonna help me do the thing? But now,
I used to beg my parents when I was a kid. I'd be like, please, can I go on auditions for like a TV show? And that was one of the few times where they were like, absolutely not. No. If you want to do this, you can be an adult and do this when you're older. But I think they were even like, okay, we recognize that this is something you like, but we're not about to have a child actress in our house, dealing with the fallout 10 years from now. Like, I think they were like, no.
excuse me, no, yeah, my parents were just like, I can't afford to take off work to take you. No, we're
Yeah.
not doing that. I'd be like, well, how are we supposed to
How am
do
I
the
supposed to
thing?
get there?
Right. And now that we do like the podcast and like the web show, they're like
Yeah.
dumb supportive. They're like,
Yeah, yeah,
why?
yeah.
They tell their friends, my daughter hosts a podcast and she gets to
Oh,
do all these things. And I send them the articles and stuff I write for our website, and they're like, no, no, gold.
I love
Awesome.
it. I love
Sharing
it.
it to all my friends. And I'm just like,
That's
hey,
their job. When you're an adult and you're successful in your that's when they get to brag and they
oh,
say,
yeah.
"Oh yes, everything you touch is gold, my dear. It's so wonderful." And they brag about you in the grocery store. I love it. I
Oh,
love
my, I'm, I am so famous among my mom's work
it.
friends.
Yeah, same.
Like, when me and my son go to visit my mom, it's you would think that like not necessarily Beyonce, but Solange walked in.
Yeah. No,
Is
I totally get it. I totally get it.
that,
It's
is
so
that
great.
the Hannibal we've been hearing about? What? They be so invested. It's great.
My favorite is like, because I went to a really small high school, and so since news of this movie has come out, I'm getting like messages on Facebook left and right from people that have either run into my parents in the store or like at the mall or like at church or whatever. And they're like,
Mhm.
oh, Liz, your mom told me that you were in this movie and Idris Elba. And I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. It's a little validating.
Right. Oh my god. No, I took up pole dancing like a few years ago. So me a
Are you in
pre
the video?
that yeah.
I was like, that was like Tiffany. I was admiring. That is something I've always wanted to learn how to do. I'm jealous. That looks
I
awesome.
highly recommend it. I highly
Yeah.
recommend it. If you ever get down South Philly, the place I go is called Flaunt Fitness. I've been doing it for 3 years now, and all my it's so funny. Like pre-COVID, I was gonna go to St. Martin with my mom and her friends, and my mom's friends were like, "We about to get free pole lessons." Oh yeah, everybody thinks that I'm like, they're like, "Well, you competed, you won, now you qualified,"
Wow.
and I'm just like, okay, I
That
guess.
is awesome. I've always wanted, and that's like such a weird thing to say. Like, I've had aspirations to learn how to dance on a pole, but like, it's awesome and
It's
it's a
so much
great
fun.
workout. And I'm sorry, but it's sexy as hell. Like, it just is. Like, it just is. We all need to get over
It's so funny. I was in the hospital because I was having surgery, and I'm like, I want to go back to working out. And they're like, working out. I'm like, yeah, I've been doing pole for 3 years. And here, these little stick skinny nurses. They're like, wow, I gave up on that after 5 lessons. How long have you been doing it? And I was like, 3 years. And they're like,
lessons.
I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what? And I'm like, big as I am.
They were not
3
committed.
years.
They were not committed. Well, but I bet you have crazy upper body strength, which I know. I have none. I don't know how I would get my foot up on that. I'd be like, oh, and there I go.
You don't
Like, it would
need
not
it.
be good.
You don't even really need it for real. Like a lot of
Really?
people think you gotta go up there and that you should be pulling from the top.
Hmm.
Really, you push with your legs and
Oh,
you
see, I've
engage
got
your
really strong
core.
legs, so this is good.
Yeah. So a lot of people think you pull from the top. That's actually a lot of work. If
Yeah.
you push with your legs, it's less work because you have bigger muscles doing more of the work. So like,
Yes.
yeah,
I
my problem
didn't
is
do
that
that.
like my problem is like I'm round in the middle, so I don't have as much core strength. So like it can be hard to do certain things. Like I still can't get quite upside down. Like I
Mm-hmm.
can climb and eventually turn upside down if I do
Right.
certain moves, but I can't kick into an upside down position.
That
But I
is
can climb, I can like do certain stuff, and it's legs and core, baby, legs strong as ever.
not fitness. All right. I'm in it. I am so looking it up after this because I
I'll
mean, I
say,
don't know
bro,
what
I
your plan
mean,
is with COVID, but like that's awesome.
they are. I know the owner. She is super, super clean. They're doing all the classes at like half capacity with
Oh, okay.
half an hour in between each class so that they have time to like clean and disinfect.
Nice.
And nobody has been sick since they've been going there and everything like that. They do the temperature
Awesome.
checks. No, no, no. This place, I love it because it's like a family. Like my pole friends are my pole sisters.
Yeah, yeah.
So we get in there and every little win is everybody else's win and everybody is so happy for you. So
I love that. I
yeah,
love
I highly recommend it. Pole is
the
it's such
community.
a community. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
one of the many 9 to 5 jobs I've had to take in the last 10 years to pay bills, um I worked at a gym and it was a wonderful experience. It was a small little private gym
I
and
love it.
I just fell in love with the people there. It was a beautiful place and most of the people at that gym were over, 50, but it was like a little family. It was like a little community. And when I would take, Zumba class with it was like me and then like a bunch of ladies over 50. So I'd be
Mhm.
kind of in the back, like, I'm not really here. I'm just sort of no, there's no hiding in the back because they will find you and they'd be like, "Come on, Liz," and you're like, "All right, I'm in the front now." But
I love
so
that.
fun. It was so fun and so welcoming, and I think that's you know sometimes you hear about gyms like getting a bad rap about people who like fat shame or do whatever, but
Mhm.
for the most part, the ones that I've been at, it seems like everybody's like, yeah, girl, keep going. Like everybody's just kind of in that boat, like we're all getting fit together. And you're like, yeah,
Yes.
all right, I guess,
No, and
I love
pole is exactly the same. Like even I would be like before I would feel comfortable to pick a pole up at the front of class, my teacher would be like, she would pair me up with somebody who was newer than I was,
it. Yeah,
and they'd be like, Tef already knows how to do this. She'll show you. And I'd be like, I will.
right.
And they'd be like, you will. And I'd be like, all right, I guess I will.
That's
Or they
awesome. That's good. We,
yeah.
every like dance audition I've ever been on is like that. Because I've auditioned for a few Broadway plays. I didn't get cast, but I did audition for a couple. And I mean, I do. Okay, so I have dance training. I am a dancer, but really more accurately, I tell people in the audition when they ask you, can you
Are
sing
you a
or dance
chorus
at all? Are
girl?
you a dancer?" I say, "I'm an actor who moves well." And that lets them know. They're like, she's got some skill. She may not be at the level, but maybe with some practice she'd be all right. Because if you say I'm an actor that moves well, they know what that means. They're like, all right, so she's not a total noob, but maybe she doesn't have all the technique, which is fine.
Right.
But
You got rhythm.
I got the rhythm, and with probably a week or so of rehearsal, I'd be fine with the choreography. My
Okay.
pickup ability is nothing though. Like you could show me how to do something 20 times in that room, and I will be like, "What were the arms? No, I'm sorry, one more time." You know what I mean? Like not in the moment. But every dance audition is like that. You try to, if you're like me and not really a dancer, you try to stand in the back so you can watch everybody in front of you. And then, 5 minutes in, they go, "Okay, front row, please break. Next row, move up." And then 5 minutes after that, please break, next row, move up. And before long, I'm in the front. Now everyone's watching me, and I don't know this choreography. You know what I mean? You have to get used to just being like, well, I can't hide back here. I'm just
Right.
going to have to go for it. And if I mess up, I mess up, but there's no hiding. You know what I mean? And I feel like it probably is like that at pole class or in most, like my Zumba
Yeah.
classes at the gym were like that. There's no hiding in the back. And that's so frustrating because sometimes I just want to be like in my own little corner and just be like, I know the moves. You know what I mean? But there's no hiding. They make you go up there. But
well, in
yeah,
pole, there's a big mirror in the front of the class. So
yeah. Well, I think that's where most of my dance audition. Well, yeah, most of my musical theater auditions for Broadway. That's usually where they fell apart. Was the dancing. I'm fine with the singing, and then so they usually have you sing first. Trick because I can sing fine, and then they're like, "Can you
Right.
stay for the dance call?" And you're like, "Mm-hmm." And then you're like stretching in the room with all the real dancers, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be fun. All right, And then you might make it through the first round of the dance call, but then usually by the second round, that's when they're like, "Thank you, Miss Priestley." And you're like, "Yeah." So
I can relate to that though, because when I did theater in like high school and like I took like a theater class in college, I can act, I can memorize the lines, I can monologue, I can dance. So like if you teach me a choreography, you give me like 20 minutes, it's not gonna be like crisp, but I'ma have it. I'ma hit all the moves. But the problem would come because when I would go to sing and I'd be like, I'm not a strong singer. So I would always get like, they'd be like, oh, you'd make it all the way to the end, and they'd be like, we got a chorus spot for you, and I'd be like, which would drive
frustrating.
It is so
Like,
frustrating.
come on, like I could do everything else, Just put me in the chorus.
Well, no, I'd get like the
out.
one speaking line. I'd get like two speaking lines.
Yes, exactly.
Where I didn't have to sing them.
Townsperson number 2 who says, "I'll take 6 eggs." Like that's me. That's my
Yeah.
job,
I'm the constable where it's like, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Like,
exactly. So as long as you know your wheelhouse, I think we should all be, able to do what we want to do. No?
Listen, I was like, I can carry a tune, and they was like, you gonna carry it over there though.
Oh dear. That's when you're like, okay, maybe I should move on to something else.
Listen, but my mom would still be there in the front, telling some woo, go constable.
That's what moms do. Parents are like the biggest fans. It doesn't matter what I used to say. I'm like, I could go out there and throw up on that stage, and my parents will be like, yes. And I'm like, well, that's not part of the play, but thank you for your support.
Well, okay, no. So I would do like, because we did fall plays, and then in the spring was the musical. Yeah. So I would do like the improv show, and I would be a lead in the improv show, and then I would do the fall play, and I got a lead in the fall play when I was senior. Okay. So yeah, I could lead stuff where I didn't have to sing. Mm-hmm. But when it came to the spring musicals, they were like,
yeah. Well, it's so funny because it's like in college, I was a musical theater major. But up until my senior year, I didn't get cast in a single musical. What? Yeah, and I was the only musical theater major of my year that happened to. All my friends got musical after musical after musical, and at my college,
what was they doing? Like, what was they doing? What's that one? Anything Goes, where you had the tap dance, and they was just like,
no, and I can tap dance. I'm actually a fairly decent tap dancer, but no, we at our school you have to audition every semester for all the shows for the whole semester. It's one big audition right at the beginning, and then whatever you get cast in, that's the show you're on. So we would all go to the big auditions, and it took place over like 3 or 4 days. So like the
Mhm.
first day would be monologues, and then the second day would be the singing auditions, and then the dance auditions, and then the callbacks, and then maybe more callbacks, and but every semester, they would get cast in the musicals, and then I just would get cast in the plays, which for me was fine because again, I was like, I don't really want to do this anyway. I know I want to be in front of a camera at
Mhm.
some point, so I'm fine with it. But my parents could not understand. They were like, what are you doing wrong? Are you butchering your singing auditions? What's happening? And I'm like,
Listen,
no,
my mom knew
I
I couldn't
don't
sing, so she
know.
was like,
Yeah.
my
And
mom
then,
knew I couldn't sing, so she was like, "That's fine, that's
yeah.
fine."
And then when I was a senior, the college was like, she's about to graduate. She should probably have a musical to put on that resume somewhere. So I finally got one when I was a senior. The ironic thing was when I was a junior, they did a production of Seussical the Musical, which is, do you know
Ooh,
that one?
I do.
Yeah. So they did that. And for anyone who doesn't know, it's a musical based on Dr. Seuss characters. And I didn't get cast in it, but I got cast in the play that semester. When I graduated and I moved to New York, and I was there for several months, and then auditioned for my national tour. It was for Seussical the Musical, and I got
Oh,
cast as the Sour Kangaroo. And I thought it was so funny because I was like, we did this a year ago, and I did not get into it. And
oh
now
my
here I am touring the
god!
country, So it was kind of, again,
Take
that
that.
vindication. That vindication. I was like, I don't suck. I'm all right. I'm good.
You're like, I don't suck. Y'all suck for not picking me.
Exactly. Like,
I love it. I love it. The senior musical, actually, my senior year of high school was actually canceled. So I did,
oh,
yeah, no, like, oh God, Plantation High, class of '06. We had a whole bunch of, yeah, Plantation. Yeah. Yeah. We
mm.
had a whole bunch of stuff just happen that year. And the senior musical being canceled ended up being one of them. But I've done Oliver.
So did I.
We did Anything Goes. I we did like an improv thing where it was like Into the Woods. I
Oh yeah.
did I went to competition and I sang a song from I can't believe it. I can't remember the name of it now because every time I hear it, I'm just like,
You're like, that's me.
that's
Yeah.
me, that's me, that's me. That was my song that I sang, and they gave me an average.
They gave me an average.
They gave me
Well,
an average in
so
competition.
my big singing joke for a while, for a few years, was that when I was doing college auditions, when you're
Mhm.
gonna do theater or musical theater, any kind of performing, you got to audition for most colleges. And I got into my college singing a song from Fiddler on the Roof, which
Ooh.
after I got into college, I was told that's an unusual song choice for a woman of your hue. Like, I don't know that you're going to be playing many Russian Orthodox Jewish women in your future. I don't know. And I was like, fair point. Fair point to you. You know what I mean? But we had done a production in high school and it was a colorblind casting. So to me, it wasn't unusual until I got to
Mhm.
college. And then they were like, so, there's going to be a set number of musicals for you. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
Which, that was
Yeah.
annoying, but it is what it is. I'll never
That-
forget my first day of college. My very first thing that I ever did, you had to go meet with your advisor before you went to any classes. And I go and I met my advisor and she shook my hand. And the first thing out of her mouth was, we're so excited to have you here. We've never had a Black soprano make it through this program before. And it was just like, oh, like from then that kind of set the tone. It was like, okay, all right, I see how you see me. And that's fine. Fair play. But now I know where I'm at. You know what I mean? And then the next 4 years became about trying to break that mold that people thought I was in. I was like, no.
So in the geek community, we actually experience that a lot. Like a lot of people
Yeah.
would be like, you can't cosplay that character because they're not black. And I'm like, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of these anime characters, none of them are white.
Yeah. Yeah.
they're,
Well,
they're
believe it
Japanese,
or not,
actually.
the movie that we haven't talked about yet, I know because I go off on these tangents. Oh my goodness, Teffy, don't let me do this.
Girl, I'm the
But
worst.
we
We'll be here all night.
this movie that I'm supposed to be promoting, we actually got a lot of that in the
Really?
initial stages of our movie. Some feedback from people, cowboys. It's no black cowboys. You can't be a black cowboy. There ain't no such thing. And I
The
said,
Buffalo Soldiers were
"Ooh."
all black cowboys,
I was
but
like,
don't.
have you ever done a deep dive into the history of cowboys? Because you need a history lesson. But yeah, we got a fair amount of that in the
Okay.
beginning. Black cowboys. I never heard of a black cowboy. I was like, first of all, if for nothing else, if you've ever seen Blazing Saddles, there is a black cowboy in Blazing Saddles. All right.
But that's
So
the joke. That's the joke in Blazing
not that
Saddles.
I'm holding him up as the example, but that
Right.
is at least one.
Right.
Django, isn't he a black cowboy?
Yes, and actually the original Lone Ranger was based off of a black cowboy.
Yeah.
So how do you kind of how do you break that mold and work on changing people's minds?
Well, this particular film, we didn't have to even work that hard because it happens that the community that this movie is set in is real. So we didn't have to do anything because you're Philly,
Yeah.
in North Philly, those stables of black cowboys, that's a real thing. And that's ultimately what I want
And
people to
always
come
so
away
funny.
with. Yeah, from the and full disclosure, I had no idea before I got cast in this thing. I had no idea it was a real
Wow.
community. At my costume fitting, I said to the lady, the costume designer, I said, "Oh, so this is like a fantasy world, right?" She was like, "I'm gonna need you to go on Google and do some research." And then I, looked it up, and lo and behold, it's like, not only is it a real community, but they've been around since the Civil War, and not just in Philly. And, and the whole history of cowboys. At one point, 75% of all cowboys were black. And the term
Yeah.
cowboy is our word.
Yes, and
People don't
actually,
know.
yeah,
And I'm like,
the 10th, 11th, and 12th Cavalries here in the United States were actually all black. So at one point, 1/4 of the United States, cowboy, armed forces were black, and people just don't know their history.
Really, the term cowboy is a slavery term, which people don't know. And I'm like, yeah, I said to my friend that was pointing this out to me, I said, well, this is not something you're going to hear in 9th grade history class. You probably won't even hear it in a college history class. I never did. Do you know what I mean? But they're absolutely real, and they've been here for a very, 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 very long time. And so for us, breaking the mold was really more about letting people hear their story for what will be for many people the first time.
Right. Okay.
So for us, it was just kind of like, let's just give them a platform so we can bring them to the world. And that was it. And I'm super excited for people to be like, wait, is this real? Is that a real? Wait, Fletcher Street? That's near my house. Hang on. Hold up.
Yes. So let's talk about the movie. Let's talk about the movie. You got to meet my forever boo, Idris Elba. You got to play his role in these urban cowboy stories. So tell me all about it.
Yeah, it was, oh God, I don't even know where to start with this. So I've been acting for a long time. I have about 26 years of stage experience. I have absolutely no film credits. So besides this. So
I was about to say, I got one.
Besides this. Now I've got one. But when I, about 2 years ago, so like I said, I've been home in Philly. I've been doing the plays, but I've also been working 9 to 5s and raising a kid and paying bills and doing all of that. And about 2 years ago, I decided, okay, I'm at a point where I can put aside the 9 to 5 stuff because I'm financially able to make this push. So I did in 2018, like March 2018. Found a manager, signed with her, and I started booking commercials and whatever. And then in August of 2019, May of 2019, she called me up. She said, "You've got an audition for a film," which is not unusual. I've auditioned for a couple films. Excuse me. And she was like, "I'm sending you the script." And she sent me over, what they sent over was like 4 scenes, which is like, that's super unusual. Usually it's like 1, and you may get like 3 lines. I mean, I've gone to auditions all the way up in New York just to say, "What do you mean you're broke?" "Thank you," and then go home. Like that, the getting up there was longer than the actual audition, right? So it's 4 scenes that they sent me. So already I'm like, oh, that's unusual. And I'm reading the description, and it was like, mother drops her son off in Philadelphia to a group of black cowboys. And then somewhere over here in the ether, I remember hearing something about Idris Elba, black cowboys.
Right.
Didn't put the 2 together. I'm just like, sure. So I went in, and my focus really was not on getting the part. I had met this casting person several times, and I really just wanted her to see that I could do something serious, because she'd always kind of called me in for happy comical stuff. So I was like, I just wanted her to know I can do a serious role.
Mm-hmm.
So I go in, I do the thing, and I go back out. And then a couple days later, I get a call back. And so then I'm like, all right, let me look at this a little more closely. And I look, and that's when I started being like, oh, Idris Elba cowboy movie, Philadelphia. My script is about black cowboys in Philadelphia. Boop. Wait, what's happening? You know what I mean? And then I was like, who is he going to play? Because he's obviously not playing the 15-year-old kid. I think he's playing the dad. And then I'm like, this is the mom. And I go, all right, so clearly what they're doing here is they're looking for a stand-in for Miss Kerry Washington or somebody who's got cred. You know what I mean? So I was just like, I'm not even gonna sweat this, because they're not gonna hire someone who has no film experience to play opposite Idris Elba, because why would they? So
Not
like,
with
whatever.
that attitude.
I was like, I'm not even up for this seriously. I just gonna go in, show them I can do it again, because I did do some prep for the role that I've never really done before. Because the part was like, the description was like, it looks like she's lived a hard life. And I said, ooh. So can I go in there looking a little rough? And my manager was like, yeah, go for it. So I looked terrible. I mean, really terrible. And I was crying because there was very emotional scenes and everything. So I go in, I do it the second time. And then like a day after that, I get a call, and they're like, we would like you to come in for another callback, and we want you to meet the director and like 2 of the producers. And at that point, I was like, hang on. Hang on. Am I really being considered for this? And they were like, yeah. And at that point, it was explained to me in, no uncertain terms that what was going on was the director had seen my tape, and he really liked me. And he was like, I want to go with her. And the producers were like, we should go with a name. That way we can guarantee butts and seats, because the pandemic wasn't a thing at this point. So they were like, we should get a name, like, and the director was like, I want her. I'm going to meet her. And if she does this again, I'm casting her. That's how it was explained to me. So there was a little bit of a battle, which of course made me feel great, because I was like, what? So I go in a third time, I do my thing. The director shook my hand. And then I walked out of there feeling really good about it. I'm not going to say I knew I got the part, but I was just like, I feel good no matter what happens. I feel really good.
You went in there, left blood on the dance floor.
I
and
left
was
it there,
like,
I did my thing. And then, yeah, the next day, the casting person called me and she told me I got the part, which is like, I didn't even react because I thought she was kidding. And then I was just kind of like, huh? It was like my parents were on a cruise and I was trying to call them like in the middle of the ocean, like, please call me back. Please call me back. I have news. Please call me back, And then they finally did. And it was like, I told them and all three of us were like, oh, that's nice. That's nice. Okay. It didn't sink in. And then I got sent the full script. And I call my manager and I go, I'm supposed to be on a horse in this. I have not been on a horse since I was 17. Can I get some help? So we call up the place and they're like, oh, yes, Miss Priestley needs to report to horse camp. And at that point, that's when it sunk in. Like, oh, I'm going to horse camp and like, what? And I'm very allergic to horses. So I didn't want to tell anybody. I was like, they're going to fire me. Turns out Idris is allergic. Caleb McLaughlin is allergic. We're all allergic. It's fine. But yeah, I did horse camp. And then, a couple weeks later, I show up on the set. And it was like the most surreal 8 days of my life. It was crazy. It was crazy.
You've got me on the edge of my seat. I'm in love. I'm just like, tell me more.
I will say, I have to claim Idris back because what happened when I met him. And also it's unusual in a film audition. Normally, if it's like a big budget, film, we would have met somewhere during the audition process to make sure he wasn't like super giant next to me or whatever. And also, meanwhile, so Caleb McLaughlin of Stranger Things fame plays my son in the movie, and I hadn't met him either. So I was just like,
adorable. I cannot wait to see him do more.
So adorable. But I was so dumb. I hadn't seen Stranger Things before that. And I decided, I was like, let me binge watch like the first season before I meet him. So I'm thinking like 11-year-old Caleb McLaughlin's going to be on set. And I met 17-year-old Caleb McLaughlin, who is taller than me in 4-inch heels. And I was just like, what? So that blew my mind. So, my first day on there, I met him. I met Caleb. 10 seconds later, we're up on a horse together. And, bigger person has to sit in the back. So I've got my arms around his waist. And I'm like, I've known you for all of 10 seconds. Hello. And he's just like, no worries, So we get on a horse. And then they kind of moved our horse up to where this other horse is waiting, right? Mm-hmm. And we get there. And I look to my right, and I just see, if you're me, right? This is all I see. And I just was like, I said to him, I was so overwhelmed. I said to him, oh, hello, husband. And he goes, oh, well, hello, wife. And I almost fell off the horse. I swear, when he called me wife, I had to hold on to Caleb so tightly because I was like, I'm going to fall off the horse. I'm going to fall off this horse. That man is so beautiful and so gorgeous. I'm going to fall off this horse right now. And he just called me his wife. But no, he is, I've said this to people before. I said, Idris Elba is as gorgeous and as charming and as sweet and as funny as you think he is, which is devastating because when you get up close to him, you're like, where is your flaw? You are perfect. Like, cut that out.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
But he was really sweet. I had about a day and a half with him. And he was so sweet. It was so funny because everyone's like leading up to it. Just remember, he's just a man, okay? He's just another actor, and you are just there to do a job. And I'm like, he's not just a man, though. It's Idris Elba, and he's standing across from me with a couple couple buttons undone on his shirt, and I'm just like, like he's not just a man. He's amazing. But it was, I was proud of myself because I felt like after I got off over the initial like, then I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a job. I got to do my job. So it was nice in the sense that like I felt like I tested myself and came through. But my favorite Idris Elba moment, besides him calling me his wife, which is awesome, but when we were chatting between scenes, he said to me at one point, he's like, so what would I know you from, or what would I have seen you in? And I said, oh, no, this is my debut. I haven't been in anything else. And he literally, he put his hand over his heart and he's like, I get to be in your film debut? I was just like, it's like, if I couldn't fall in love with you anymore, like,
Right.
no, he was great. He and Method Man is also in the movie.
Nice.
And, he and Method Man entertained people quite a bit with their like freestyle rapping and stuff. A lot of the Cowboys. So the Fletcher Street Stables is featured in our movie, and a lot of their cowboys play cowboys in the film.
Love it.
Yeah, so we got to hang out with them, and the Fletcher Street guys were just like enthralled, of course, just enthralled. And it was just such a cool experience. And Caleb is amazing. I had about 5 days with Caleb, and he is just, I learned a lot from him. I really did. I mean, yeah.
What would you say, like, if you could give advice to anyone else, what would you say is the most important thing you learned from that experience?
That's a really great question. Well, I would say it's a twofold answer, but, be prepared, like do your homework, but then also be ready to learn, like own up to the fact that you don't know everything and that you won't know everything. Because, I was freaking myself out beforehand because I was like, I've never been on a film set. I don't know what to do. And, occasionally they would be throwing around terms that I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Please explain that. So it was a little bit embarrassing in the sense that like, I feel like I should know this, but I don't. But I think that's okay. I think you need to go in, especially if it's your first film, you got to go in with the attitude of like, I'm here to do a job, but I'm also here to learn. You know what I mean? And I think people really do appreciate if you're upfront and say, I really don't know. Could you explain it to me? Or like, what does that mean or whatever, as opposed to being like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Totally. You know what I mean? But also, like I said, do your homework. I mean, it's weird because you're sitting around a lot on a film set, but in some ways there's just no time to sit and learn your lines or come up with a character. I mean, when you're on set, you're going. You know what I mean? There's no time to dig deep and discover new things about your character all of a sudden in that moment. Like that all has to be done beforehand. And they will not wait for you to discover these things in the moment. They will expect you to have that done already.
Okay.
So I would just say, yeah, be prepared, do your homework, but then also be open to learning for sure.
Oh, I think that is so awesome. And I don't listen, I know you're gonna get up there. I can't wait to see this movie and to see you. And I know girl, I got faith in you. You're gonna be up there on that Broadway stage when they open it back up. You're gonna get out there and get those auditions. I feel like such a glow. Yeah, no, I feel like such a glow, and you have like such a good vibe, and I like people really gravitate towards authenticity, and I feel like you are just brimming with that.
Thank you. That means a lot because there's a lot of fake people in this industry.
Listen,
I'm not gonna mention names, but I will say there was one experience. I'm not gonna mention the name. One experience on this film that did take me aback a little bit, and it was somebody who is an established star. Was we were sitting like in the room where craft services was, because we were waiting. If there's a thunderstorm or any rain of any kind, you can't film because equipment, all that stuff. So you just got to wait it out. And August, as you know, is like prime thunderstorm time for Philly. So we were waiting out a thunderstorm. We were sitting there, and this person, I had not met this person yet. And they were sitting a few feet away, and they got up and they started walking past me, and I reached out my arm to say, "Oh, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself." And this person looked down at my arm, like at the arm, at my hand, being like, how dare you touch me? And I was just, I almost didn't say anything because I was just like, oh. And then I felt like I had to rush and get it out. And I was like, oh my gosh, my name is Liz Priestley. I'm playing Kayla's mother, and then the person was like, oh, and changed their demeanor totally. And I was just like,
oh my gosh.
Okay. That took me aback a little bit because they were not the biggest star on that set. And I was really surprised that someone with as much clout as Idris Elba can say something to me like, I need to be in your film debut. And this other person looked down at my hand like, are you touching me? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that happened.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what? I'm ready to fight. I'm like, don't talk to my Liz like that.
Thank you. I definitely would not win in a fight against this person. So if you would like to take him, I will let you do that.
Ma'am, I'd have had 2 surgeries in the last 4 months. I'm probably not the one you want.
Okay.
I'm scrappy, but
steer clear. Neither one of us is up to par right now.
When I get back to working out, you call me. The next time somebody get a little attitude, I promise you, give me like 6 months, I'm gonna be back in fighting shape.
I love it. Like, but your number, TeffyWonder.
Listen, you say call me boo. But we are gonna get ready to wind down. I don't want to keep you away from your little, and I'm sure you got more scripts to read. Like I said, I know you about to get up there on that stage. I got faith in you, girl. But
thank you.
Yes, but before I let you go, I want to give our viewers a chance to get to know you a little bit better. We're going to have our 20 questions with you. And yes, it's totally fun. So it's 20 questions in about 3 minutes. I don't want you to think about it. I just want you to just do
answer.
Yes.
Love it.
All right.
I'm ready.
All right. So here we go.
Okay.
Superman or Batman?
Superman.
Collard greens or mac and cheese?
Mac and cheese.
A sunny 4th of July or a white Christmas?
Sunny 4th of July. I hate snow with a burning, fiery passion that lives deep within my soul.
Oh my God.
Because I went to school in upstate New York. Once you've driven in that, you're like, that's it. I'm done. I paid my dues.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. All right. Wine or beer?
Wine.
What's your favorite cartoon?
Probably Animaniacs. No. It's gonna be a toss between Animaniacs and South Park.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe like
all right. Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
MJ all the way. Get LeBron out of here. Out of here. And I don't think either one of them are the greatest of all time. Come at me, Philly. I don't. I have a very controversial choice.
Oh, I wish we had more time. Movie premiere or concert?
Movie premiere.
Okay. Sports car or motorcycle?
Sports car. Motorcycle scared me.
Apple, iPhone, or Android?
I'm in the Apple cult. Apple. I know. I was in the Android and then I switched. Now I can't go back.
No, God.
Sorry.
No, I used to support corporate cell phones, and once you get indoctrinated to Apple, a lot of people say that.
I recognize it for the cult that it is. It is, and I'm in it.
All right. The animal you are most afraid of? Come on, you're not supposed to think about
any type of rodent. And I
Okay,
would
okay.
include bunny rabbits in that because I don't like them either. Yeah, no, no.
All right. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars.
Pacino or De Niro?
Oh, come on. De Niro, I guess. God, I
Ah.
don't know. That's a hard one.
All right. House plants or house pets?
House pets.
Okay. Uh Hamilton or The Lion King?
I never saw Hamilton, so I'm gonna go with the Lion King, the original animated, not the live action. It was god awful.
Yeah, well, I fell asleep on live action. It's fine.
Yeah, horrible.
High heels or flip flops?
Flip flops.
All right. Dad bods or abs?
Oh, I'm a sucker for a dad bod. I like the softness. I love them.
All right. Chocolate or flowers?
Flowers. I don't like chocolate.
Oof. A dancing night out or home with a book?
Home with a book.
All right. And we're going to cap it off with the greatest moment of your career.
I mean, obviously, meeting Idris Elba. I mean, like, doesn't even compare. Like, come on. Only because I got to work with him. I got to touch him. I got to hug him. I got to be like in the whole presence.
Nice.
Oh my god.
Yes. Yes. Listen, before I let you go off on another tangent, why don't you tell everybody where they can follow you, where they can follow the great Liz Priestley and see where they can see you next?
Man, the great Liz Priestley has a very limited social media presence, but the only place you can find me is Facebook under Liz Priestley, because I would be taking pictures of my feet on Instagram and being like, Merry Christmas. Like, I'm not there yet.
First of all, there's an audience for that, so don't do that.
No, but you can find me on Facebook, or you could always check the IMDb page under Liz Priestley, because all my projects will be posted there.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I've just been cackling this whole time. It has been so much fun. I get to do all the fun interviews, and it's meet the best people.
I feel like I just talked so much, and I feel so bad for anybody whose ears are like bleeding now. They're like, God, get this girl off my microphone.
Listen, they be all right. Make sure you guys tune into the Head Nerds in Charge. We stream every Wednesday from 8-ish to 10-ish, because CPT time is a thing. We stream on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and now more recently Periscope. You can follow us, Head Nerds in Charge, everywhere. And also check out the headnerdsincharge.com. It's our brand new website. We just premiered all of our November articles, and I am already getting geared up for December. I have been TeffyWonder. You follow me over on my Facebook fan page, TeffyWonder the Mocha Mermaid, or at TeffyWonder on Instagram. Liz, thank you again. You have been the best.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. And we'll see you guys next time over on the potty. See ya.
Slice and dice, little chickie. You look soft.
Yo, what's up, fellas? This is Sid O'Connell. I'm here in Philadelphia. Tune in to Head Nerds in Charge, Wednesdays from 8 to 10. Do not miss it.
Yeah. All right, and we are done recording.